Well, it is 3 a.m. Guess who's awake again? Yeah, 3 a.m. again. This is Friday morning early. Uh, I would say last night, but yes, just a few hours ago, yesterday, Thursday night, there was another Cosmic Conversations meeting, the little Zoom meeting I go to. Really liked it. Thing I like best about them is all the participants speaking up, and I talked a little bit because one gentleman, I think his name was Paul, had asked about telepathy, so I spoke up, gave an example, kind of thing, what I thought, the way it works for me, kind of thing, a little bit, just a little bit, trying to scare people, just a little bit. But he had actually mentioned a thing called a Wanderers Handbook, and it's like I put in chat, it's like, yeah, that made a big impression on me. This thing called a Wanderers Handbook is one of the things that really started opening my eyes. I had heard about star seeds, and wanderer is a more accurate term, at least for me anyway. So that kind of stuck in my head, and I thought that was kind of neat. The thing is, right before the meeting started, it was just me and Sheila, the organizer, online by ourselves, and we were just talking. And she's got everything booked up weekly through May, and she had an opening in May and asked me if I wanted to do a presentation. I told her, well, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a guru. I'm not a teacher. Any of that kind of thing. I can only share experiences, and she thought that was great, just to share experiences. So I said, sure, if that's what you want, you think it would be beneficial to the group or something or interesting, sure. So here I am now at 3 a.m. thinking about what to talk about, and it was mentioned at this meeting about a Wanderer's Handbook. The thing about a Wanderer's Handbook, it kind of solidified what type of wanderer I am. It listed out some categories like healers and teachers and body workers and earth workers. And then it said there was a specialized group, kind of a rare specialized group called Dark Arts Practitioners, and that's me. I knew it as soon as I read it because that's been my whole life kind of thing. It's like maybe I'll talk about that because in these Zoom chats, in these Zoom groups, everybody's a teacher and a healer and a communicator and a channeler and ET experiencers, which I get all that and I've experienced a lot of that. But I've never met another type of person like me, so I thought maybe I'll share that and maybe somebody out there will find it beneficial because none of them talk about it, this kind of thing, dark arts practitioner. There has been one speaker that briefly mentioned seeing something so dark, an entity so dark, he actually called it a demon, and this guy was from New York, very much professional. The police department uses him as a psychic to help solve crimes and murders and things like that. They actually use him a lot for that. And he had seen one of these type of dark entities before, and he had all this knowledge, so he didn't actually fight it. He managed to stave it off until it left, kind of thing. Now for me, I fight them, kind of thing. So I don't know how that's going to go over talking about it. I don't know. Several others mentioned mediums and seen these. They're in these lower astral beings, and some of them really dark and negative. And from what I've heard from these groups, when they see some of these really dark things, they leave them alone, and that's just not what I did or do. So maybe I'll talk about that, being a little different than most of them. Maybe I'll talk about how for the starseeds, all these other starseeds saying they volunteered and I didn't volunteer. I was told to come here. So talk about that. It's a little different than from what I've heard from most all of them. So the other thing different that I can share is these videos. So far it seems like I'm the only one that has put videos out, created videos before I knew anything about anything. I created these videos and started putting them out before I had heard the word starseed or spiritual awakening or law of one or all this consciousness stuff, before I knew anything about all that. Voice in my head started yelling, put videos out, put them out now, do it now. And that was at the end of 2019. So I did. And I was worried, people were going to lock me up, haul me away. But I had to do it. So I did it. And then all of a sudden, all this other stuff started happening. It all started linking together and coming together. And I found all these people like me. In my Starseed video, SH number 70, I'll put a link below. But even in that one, I was still worried that if I tried talking to these other Starseeds, these other people like me, that I might scare them. Because some of my stuff seems kind of extreme. I did mention the telepathy tonight, and one lady had mentioned that, it's like a feeling you get when you're around someone, or, you kind of know a little bit when you're around someone. I'm like, oh God, it's not, mine is pretty direct. I get pictures in my head, images and concepts in my head of exactly what's happening. What's happening exactly. It's just like I put in my book with the gentleman I called Eric in the book, where we could have conversations in our head and we practiced. And it worked that way. Another example is where me and a friend were walking on the bridge, and I was filling in details from the book he was reading, and I hadn't read it yet, and it freaked him out and he ran away. That kind of thing. Or telling people, hey, what y'all want to know what I did for the weekend? I tell them what they did for the weekend. They freak out and run away. I've got very specific examples. Even with my wife, somebody said with telepathy, it's like, well, you know your spouse so well, you kind of know what they might want for dinner, so you pick it up along the way. It's like, yeah, that happens. And they consider that telepathy. And I'm like, let's go to the next step with me a little bit. When I'm walking through Sam's and getting the impression, oh wait, my in-laws want something. Let me call my wife. This actually happened. This is a true story. Call my wife. Hey, Tara, do your parents want anything from Sam's? Let me call and check. About 20 seconds later, I'm walking through the store and it's like, oh, that's what they want. They're telling her that they want a single bag of Splenda, one of the 2 packs of Splenda from Sam's. That's all they want. One thing, the double pack of Splenda from Sam's. So I go down the aisle, pick it up, scan it, start walking out to the car with it. And then she calls back and says, oh, they only wanted one thing. They did want something. One thing, the double pack of Splenda. And I tell her, I've already got it checked out. I'm walking to the car. That kind of thing. It's like pretty specific and not generalized. So the hardest thing I've got several months to get this presentation together. The hardest thing is going to be trying not to come off as arrogant. It's like, I've got to be open, honest, gentle, and kind on everything. So I've got to be open and honest. I don't know that they'll believe me. I don't know. I have it out here on videos. And some of the videos I've put out here are as things are actually happening, and I'm recording it on video live, recording it. And it's just like, I don't know if they'll believe me. So maybe that's why I'm waking up at 3 a.m. today just thinking about this. It's like, how am I going to go about doing that? It's going to be some work trying to put something out there without being arrogant, and still going to be unbelievable even to this group. I think it's going to be hard to believe. Just got to make it so I don't scare them. I guess that's it. A little off topic, country boy stuff. Been making a few videos on it. It is Friday about noon. Just got a phone call. You saw some past couple of videos about the police searching for somebody, police helicopters. They arrested one of the people down the way a little bit, who'd been skulking around. That shot somebody in the face. That person was basically pilfering stuff outside the houses. He never actually broke into people's houses. Well, apparently he upgraded. He did upgrade it, and they arrested him for breaking into people's homes and stealing stuff. Now that's a huge change. He's over 80 years old. That's a big change from his past habits for all his life. A second person that was arrested has the exact same name as one of my first cousins. They put first name, middle name, and last name, and that's my first cousin. That first cousin contacted me and one of my other cousins about 6 months ago, saying he's going to come back down into the area. He had been away out of state for a long time. This particular cousin has been in trouble with the law. He's one of the outlaw types I mentioned in the other video. Been in trouble before. So much trouble that when he got arrested here in Louisiana, the police couldn't handle him. They gave him a one-way ticket to Alaska. They couldn't handle him. Alaska jail system, prison system couldn't handle him either. They gave him a one-way ticket back to Louisiana and just dropped him off because they couldn't handle him either. And this second person that's been arrested that was listed in the local newspaper has the first, middle, and last name of my first cousin. Really interesting. Well, yeah, and he would know that other gentleman that got arrested from being from down there and being around there as kids and all that. So he would know the area. Yeah, interesting.